Good Sunday, one and all.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. How's everybody doing?
I'm alive.
Yeah, same. We are still alive. Lest our appearance fool you otherwise. We are still alive.
I feel like I definitely look dead. I really did. I almost died today.
Yeah.
I mean, not really, but it felt like it.
It felt like you almost died today. That's
yeah.
fun.
Well, so I'm in a new location today because I'm traveling. So my sister is here with my nieces from Paris, right? And we're going on vacation this week, which is really exciting. Yeah, we got a little Airbnb in the Central Coast, and we're gonna just kind of check out the beaches, which, you know, is like our favorite area.
Yeah.
And as we talked about in previous episodes of this podcast, and you'll probably hear us talk about again. And so we're really excited. But so I drove to Arizona this morning so I could pick them up and take them back to California with me. The problem is my truck ran out of air conditioning. So
in Arizona.
Yep, in Arizona. I think it was about Yuma.
Oh boy.
Which is primo timing.
That's the worst place to run out.
Yeah.
Oh
it was like, I don't know how hot it was, probably, and definitely in the hundreds.
Ugh.
And so I had to drive the rest of the way with the windows down, and I had the fan cranked, but it was hot.
Did you also have Deep Purple cranked?
No.
Okay. That's
Sorry. I actually was talking to Michelle for a good chunk, or she was talking to me because I couldn't make words work anymore after a while.
Ooh boy.
It was,
summer in Arizona. Can't
gotta love it. I try to avoid it like the plague, but
when you try to avoid it, it doubles down and kills your air conditioning.
It finds you.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back to Arizona.
Thank you.
And welcome everyone to Crimes Against Folk. I am Edward Williams, as always.
I am Ashley E. Norton, as always.
And we are still in separate places. Don't worry about that. But we're a little bit closer this time. We're both in Arizona.
Yep.
And we're able to do this, thankfully, with the help of Jamulus, Restream, OBS, and the help of viewers like you. I've always wanted to keep doing that as like my PBS audition, and I'm hoping they're gonna tune in one day and maybe hire me.
You're nailing it.
Yes.
I'll hire you. I would hire you if I worked for PBS.
Thank you.
That's funny because it's actually my dream to work for PBS behind the scenes, just in like the hiring department.
Yeah, that'd be fun, right?
Yeah. So hopefully I get the job first and then I can hire you.
Yes.
Yep. This is a good plan.
Hooray for nepotism. I am a Deep Purple fan, by the way. I think they're pretty good.
Cool.
We do this recording live on Sundays on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube, and BandLab, so you can tune in and see how the sausage is made. We edit this down and release it as an audio version on Tuesdays. So if you are of the audio persuasion, you can subscribe to us. Just search for Crimes Against Folk on your favorite podcast app, or you can go to our website, crimesagainstfolk.com, and check it out. The show notes will be there so you can get an idea of what we talked about today. And what do we have on deck today, Ashley?
We have Rick and Laura Hall.
Heyo, we've been hyping this one up for a few weeks now.
Because they're awesome.
But Rick and Laura Hall, wonderful. Rick's a wonderful storyteller and actor, and Laura is a fantastic musician and songwriter. And we are going to chat with them today. We are also, in our tips and tricks, going to be talking about PROs and how important they are in the grand scheme of things as far as making music and making money on your music and
Very
making sure
important.
all your ducks are in a row. Yeah, very important.
And also not important at all.
Yeah.
But we'll get
So,
there.
It depends. The level of importance depends on how much you want to work for your music. So,
That's true. It's true. You got to make your PROs work for you, huh?
So stick around. We're going to be talking about that and try, hopefully, to demystify a little of that process for you.
Yep. And hopefully learn something ourselves.
Yeah, learn something about ourselves in the process.
It's what doing a little bit of research on this topic, especially it's been a topic at hand this week in particular, and you realize that, okay, yeah, I think I really understand PROs, and then you realize that, oh, I actually understand nothing because it's one big gray area. So it's pretty fun. PROs are fun.
Yeah, you get. I was doing some research as well, and it's. There are lots of little things that make it kind of a weird topic because of how everything's changing, and everything changes with recent legislation passed a couple years ago. We're not going to talk about that today because it kind of doesn't apply, but we might go into it in another podcast. So.
That's a good idea. Especially because I don't really understand that at all. So
I just kind of figured it out today. Wow. And then I
Wow.
realized it wasn't relevant, so I'm not including it.
Okay, we'll talk about this later.
But first, shall we start off with a tune,
The musics.
as they'd say in
That this
in
is
Blighty?
a music podcast.
You hear me there on the guitar?
I can.
Okay.
Yeah. We actually recorded a version of the song with our violinist, Stephanie Groot. And we also did a little music video for it with Howard Ignatius, so you guys can check out.
Back in the good old Central Coast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're going to do a little ditty for you now. You might recognize the song. Asked a girl what she wanted to be, and she said, baby, can't you see? I wanna be famous, a star on the screen, but you can't do something in between. Baby, you can drive my car. Yes, I'm gonna be a star. Baby, you can drive my car, and maybe I'll love you. I told a girl that my prospects were good, and she said, baby, it's understood. Working for peanuts is all very fine, but I can show you a better time. Baby, you can drive my car. Yes, I'm gonna be a star. Baby, you can drive my car, and maybe I'll love you. Beep, 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 yeah. something to say. I've got no car and it's breaking my heart. But I found a driver and that's a start. Baby, you can drive my car. Yes, I'm gonna be a star. Baby, you can drive my car. And maybe I'll love you. Beep, 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 yeah. 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 I like the swivel chair way too much. It's fantastic for dynamics because when I need to back up, all I just have to do is push.
You just back up. I can't really I don't have much room to do that.
Well, I have carpet in my home studio, so I'm really digging the tile floor here. It's fantastic. Anyway,
Nicely done.
thanks.
You haven't done that in a while.
No, we haven't. I was like, I hope I remember all the lyrics.
Yeah.
And then I did.
Yeah. All right, where are we at here?
Well, we are at
Show and tell?
Show and Tell.
Ah. Wunderbar. You get we usually send the photos to each other ahead of time.
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah,
Okay.
I was driving this morning, so I didn't get.
Right.
I got it, but I didn't. I have to look at it again. 'Cause oh, I know what it is now.
Yeah, it is. So we this was last year, I believe, and this was a really fun experience. I would say for both of us.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna throw the photo up now. Bing. And this is a photo of Ashley standing next to an awesome counter with a cup of coffee in her hand in a kitchen. And we were in a wonderful kitchen environment for a live show, a live cooking show.
Yep.
Yeah. Your favorite road musicians in a kitchen cooking.
It was a bad idea. Let's bring these two musicians that don't have a home, let alone a kitchen, onto this cooking show.
With zero utensil experience for 5 years.
Zero skills.
Zero skills.
But actually, that's not true because you know what we did is we serenaded the chef during the show.
You remind me of her name.
I knew you were going to ask
If
me
you
that.
can recall, I can't. I'm trying to remember her name right now. I'll look it up at some point, and I'll put it in the show notes. But this was for a show called Feast Forward, and it's a live streaming show that's done out of Napa, California. And we were invited on as musicians, and we while the chef was preparing the food. At certain points, we would play songs. But for me, the fun part was we got to actually help prepare the food. And this was something, again, we don't get to do very often, having traveled on the road for so long. So, you know, the chef, she was there to guide us and make sure we didn't burn the place down. But it was really fun because we kind of got to get our hands dirty. You know, we got to, we made she was making like a encrusted like tuna steak that day.
Oh,
and,
so good.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. I had never really had it because it was kind of I like not even medium rare. It was just kind of pan seared, and I'd never had anything like that before. And I tried it, and I was like, "This is one of the best things I'd ever had in my life." And I got to help bake it. I got to get the hands down in the seasoning and bread it and everything. And boy, oh boy, that was good.
And what was cool about it is she came up with recipes that that everyone can do from home. It was kind of a family friendly thing that she, on what the show that we were on. And the way that we found it was really random too. We were with our friends Jody and Frank and next door, and we were just kind of wandering around, and of course I look across the street and I see a sign that says live music, which I automatically have to go check that out, of course. And so we walk into this place, and it's a wine bar and downstairs, and we met the lovely owner. Was it Stephanie? God, this is so bad that I can't remember her name. Hopefully she's not listening to this episode. I'll be so embarrassed.
Oh, that's fine. Well, we can. I mean, we meet so many people.
Yeah, I know. Right? Too many
it's really
people.
Tough to keep them all straight.
Yeah, and you're going to say it, we're going to find it, and we're both going to go, duh.
Yeah.
But she was there, and she was so sweet, and there were a couple of guitars there, and we jumped on the couch, and we played a couple Simon and Garfunkel tunes, which they all got really excited about, they being the bartenders as well. And she's like, I do this show where I invite musicians on, and they sing a couple tunes and maybe help me cook a little bit, and we have a live show, and you're welcome to bring a live audience as well. So we did. We had some of our friends come about a month later, and we appeared on the show. And what was really extra cool about it for me is she's had some pretty amazing musicians on the program. It felt like such a huge honor to be on it, including one of my favorite bands of all time. You may or may not know them. They're called Ozo Motley. If you don't know them, definitely check out Ozo Motley. But she told me she had on Ozo Motley, and I was like, what? And you're having us on? That's so cool.
Oh, didn't she have Kevin Bacon on as well?
Yeah, the Bacon Brothers. Yep.
Yeah.
She had the Bacon Brothers. And she's got a long list of incredible musicians, also something I'll have to look up. But it felt really cool to do that show. And it was a beautiful space. And I hopefully it's the show's seen quite a bit of success. And we wish
Katie.
I was about to say Kristen, Stephanie, Kristen, Karen, Katie. It is Katie. Embarrassing. But we wish her nothing but more success, because she has a really unique platform there, and we loved it.
Yeah, it was cool. That day too was interesting because you'll notice in this picture as well on the right-hand side, there's a big old Microsoft Surface computer there, and I think she had gotten this wonderful sponsorship through Microsoft, and it's just like they had like the coolest part. It's not in this photo, unfortunately. I thought about putting the one that had this in there, but there was a giant screen that you could write on, like it was a big TV that you could write on, and she used that to kind of as a whiteboard to kind of keep notes and stuff like that. So it was a very, very incredible technical setup as well. So it's a really good show. That was a really fun experience.
Yeah, it was a cool experience. I'm glad you shared that photo, because I actually kind of forgot about it.
Yeah. I was scrolling through, and I found that one. I was like, oh, that was a really fun experience, because I don't really watch cooking shows, and I've certainly never ever thought I was going to be on one. And then there we are, side by side with Katie, just getting our hands in everything and making stuff. That was really fun.
I think we even did it on our way. Didn't we leave for Oregon just a couple hours later or something like that?
That was the day we were going to head to another show, and so we did it in the morning.
Yeah. And she invited us back on. Obviously, things have not really gone the way anyone's expected to. So hopefully when things are back to normal, we'll be back on the show one day soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. Or we can try it this way and go from our own kitchens.
We could.
I don't know if that's a good idea either, but
it's probably not a very good idea. But I'm willing to try.
I mean, there's necessity is the mother of invention. A lot of things I think people thought weren't good ideas.
What do you guys think? You want a food episode of our podcast?
A cooking episode of our
We'll
podcast.
show you how to make macaroni and cheese. We're really good at it.
Well, maybe you're really good at it. I don't know.
So definitely go check out Feast It Forward.
Yes.
She has all kinds of replays you can watch. I'm not sure if she has any active shows right now, but I'm guessing she does. And there's some really, really great reruns on there, including ours that you can check out. And if you're in the Napa area, you should go check it out in person sometime because it's just a really cool place to chill out and drink some wine.
I'm pretty sure I saw a clip of the Ozo Motley one, and it was like everybody was just going bananas and having a great time.
Oh God! Well, they're a really energetic band. They're like a Latin rap infusion folk rock thing.
Yeah.
It sounds so strange, but they have they're just really energetic, and their songs are mostly in Spanish, and then all of a sudden this American dude comes out and starts rapping out of nowhere. You're like, what is this? But it's really, really, really good and really cool. And they play a lot of festivals. And if you ever catch them live, one of my favorite parts is the entire band will walk off the stage, and it's a big band, and they walk through the entire audience, whether it's a festival or the venue. There's some point in the show, they get off the stage, they unplug, and just acoustic, just walk around the whole venue or the whole area until basically everyone gets a chance to hear them unplugged.
Oh my gosh.
It's incredible.
That's really awesome.
They're great. Top-notch musicians.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so that's my show and tell. You're up next week, Ash.
Okay.
I was thinking about it.
Good one, Ed.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a fun time.
Yeah.
All right. Next, we got one of our videos that we're going to show, and I found this one. This one was pretty cool. Since y'all are heading to the Central Coast, I figured I'd find another video that we did at the Central Coast.
I love it.
And this particular video was our submission to the 2018 Tiny Desk Contest, which is put on by the Tiny Desk Concert Series at NPR.
Yeah.
And what's fun about this one is that we got, what was it, like a 1/10 of a second feature in one of their compilation videos. And you'll see why at the top of this video.
I am not trying to
2, 3.
Over my cold dead body. Cold dead body. Over my cold dead body. Cold dead body. Over my cold dead body. That's what you have to do to get me out.
Over my cold dead body.
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 That's what you have to do to get me under
All right. So that was our submission
Yep.
to the 2018 Tiny Desk Contest. Unfortunately, we did not get chosen.
Well, there's only one winner, and there are like 10,000 entries every year, so
Yeah.
it's, odds are stacked against us. But
It's a pretty crowded field, yeah.
but if you saw the cute doggos, that's why we got our 1/9 of a second feature through NPR and not BandLab, sorry, the NPR and Lagunitas, because
Right.
they chose a bunch of videos that featured dogs in them, and they compiled it into a compilation, and we made it in there for like a very, very brief second, but they did say Witherword on it, so we were like, woo!
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It was like our 1/9 of a second of fame.
I'll take it.
Yeah,
Take it.
why not? If that's all I get in this life, I'd say that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a 1/9 of a second more than anybody else. A lot of other people, I should say.
True enough. True
Yeah.
enough. Okay. So next we are going to get rolling with our special guests today,
Yay.
Rick and Laura Hall. They kindly submitted a story to us ahead of time. But I'm going to, in case you don't know who they are, I'm going to read a little bit of their spiel for you. Rick and Laura Hall have cast their net wide when it comes to their creative endeavors. They met when they both got hired at the Second City, Chicago. Since then, they have gotten married, had 2 children, moved to LA, where they do continue to perform, teach, and write, both separately and together. And today they're sharing a story. I believe we've heard this story before, if I recall. And I was listening back to it, and it's still really, it's still a really amazing story about a person you all may be familiar with.
Hi there, I'm Rick Hall,
And I'm Laura Hall.
and this is our musician story. It's actually a studio story, happened right here in our little garage studio.
When our kids were little, I got asked to do a children's video, which is great, right up my alley. So I wrote the score and the music for it. And it had live action and these beautiful puppets, including an 8-foot tall dragon that was created by the people who created Big Bird. So it was a really gorgeous puppet.
Very cool.
So we recorded part of it, on the set, but the voiceover for the puppets we recorded here in the studio. And they got to sing and act for the dragon. They got none other than Roger Daltrey from The Who.
What?
Yes.
Yep, he was in between gigs a little bit and was experimenting on being an actor and thought this would be a cool way to do it.
Yeah, this was when The Who had broken up and they were never going to get back together again. So he'd moved to LA. He was trying out a few acting gigs. We never would have gotten him otherwise because this was a low rent gig, I'll tell you.
Right, well, if they're using our studio, obviously.
Exactly. So the day comes for him to record. They come here, my little tiny studio.
So entourage.
Yes. So it's him. I have an engineering assistant because I'm nervous about him recording. There's producers. There's all these people. It's a hot summer day. And I don't have the fancy air conditioner that can keep running while you're doing a take. No, we have to turn off the air every time he starts to sing.
Our air conditioner sounds like a Cessna idling in the room. So, and I will add, all of our friends wanted to come over and, oh, I'll bring over some cookies. I'll pretend that I park your cars.
We had a lot of volunteers that day. And yes, it got very hot in here, I'll say. But Roger was super cool. I mean, he was surprised when he stepped in, but he was super cool about it. So we're going through the day of recording. We need to take a break and just let the studio cool down. So we all go into the house.
So I'm in the house. I'm trying to act like, oh, yeah. Oh, hey, Roger, how you doing? How's it going out in the studio? Be cool about it. But it turns out we had just done a remodel, and Roger was remodeling the house he was working on, and he and I got talking about remodeling, like drawer pulls and what kind of paint I used and the lighting fixtures. And so if you ever wonder, if you meet a really famous person, what you'll say to them, well, I can tell you what I said to Roger Daltrey. I said, oh, man, you got to get this flooring. This cork flooring's great because you can drop a jar of mayonnaise on it and it won't break.
That's our story.
That's our story.
About having the famous rock star right here in our own studio.
I'm going to come back here. Da-da. All right. So that was a incredible story about the one and only Roger Daltrey, told by Rick and Laura Hall. And wonderfully, through the magic of the internet, the magic of broadcast, we have the Rick and Laura Hall along with us. Hello.
Hi.
Hi there.
I'm going to make
So
sure
good
your
to be
audio's
here.
going here.
Oh, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. It's so good to see you and to
It's
hear your
great to have the
voices.
internet because we haven't seen you guys in so long. Just for the audience to know, anytime they're coming by Los Angeles, they stop and live with us for a few days. So
We missed that.
Yeah, we do too.
They made the mistake of inviting us, and we showed. This is the thing: if you invite us, we show up, and sometimes people are like, "Wow, you guys actually really showed up," and we're like, "Oh yeah, we do that. We show up when you invite us." So we had such a few times, or a couple, 2 or 3 times, I think we stayed with you now on when we passed through, and we always have the best time staying with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we're good hosts because we know as touring musicians that you sometimes don't want to talk to people.
Is that a thing?
So, it's true because, how on the road you can get like over socialized.
Right.
As much as you love everybody, it's not a matter of not loving people. It's just like sometimes you need like the alone time. And sometimes when people are hosting you on the road, they want to engage you the whole time. And it's like, you're so lovely and I love you, but I just need an hour to myself,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nothing personal. It's just like you kind of have to disengage and recharge for a bit since you're always out and kind of on, as Ash likes to put it. So
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I feel like when we get around you guys, we don't have to do that. Like we can just be ourselves, and it also helps that you're very entertaining and hilarious. So we basically just have to sit back and just listen to story after story, and that's very enjoyable.
We just put on the Rick and Laura show while you're here.
Well, like Laura says, when somebody like you guys come to the house, she's like, "Oh my God, Rick's got a new audience for his story."
and there's nothing wrong with there's nothing wrong with having a test audience, focus grouping stuff. That's
Hey,
fine.
I'm going to make a reference to something you talked about earlier about cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Ask Laura what she did yesterday.
What did you do yesterday, Laura Hall?
We have wild grapes growing in our backyard.
Here, bring up a thing of grapes.
Let's
We'll
see
show you.
if we can see. So we have wild grapes growing in our
Oh my
backyard.
gosh.
And I picked them and made grape jam.
What?
First time I've ever done it.
That's
And
incredible.
it's not the like clear, sugary
Mm-mm.
stuff at the grocery store. It's like thick and meaty. Not
Well,
meaty.
meaty,
It's
but-
not meaty, but it's thick and textured and has hardly any sugar. So yummy.
Yep.
Very proud of myself.
That's
really impressive.
Wow.
I didn't know musicians could cook too. This is,
Yeah.
I mean, I just thought this was like a one-time deal for Ed and I, so
Yeah.
I'm really impressed. They're so
And
tiny.
actually, I have to say, the whole sheltering in thing, I've been cooking a lot this summer. I've been, and actually really enjoying it. And because I'm trying to avoid going to the grocery store very often, I actually have to plan ahead
Yeah.
and, and go, okay, this week, these are the 3 dinners I want to make or whatever.
Okay, and here's the difference between Laura and I. When I was gone all day yesterday, and I came back, and she's like, I've been editing on my videos for 5 hours, and I made jam today. When she's gone and comes back, she goes, what'd you get done today? And I go, oh, I've watched the whole season of Homeland.
And then some stupid YouTube videos about people wrecking trucks and stuff.
Hey, accomplishments look different for everybody.
Exactly.
Thank you, Ashley.
His favorite genre on YouTube, people doing stupid things.
Although that's not entirely true, because I happen to know that you started something. It's a project you're doing together, but it's specifically featuring you, Rick, and that is you've started a podcast yourself.
I finally, I guess, a positive of this pandemic is I did something that, my friend Luke Hannington has been telling me to do for years, which is to do a podcast of my original stories. And it's called So Says Rick. And which, by the way, I went online to look up, So Says Rick, to make sure it didn't bring up some weird thing that, creepy thing.
Like a porn site or something.
Right. Okay, great. But anyway, we're on our 7th episode, and Laura and I do an intro beforehand. She's my sidekick, technically.
That's my official title.
Yeah,
good
wife
title.
sidekick. But yeah, it's going really well, and the response has been great. They're really short though. I mean, they're 15 minutes long, the whole thing. So I think the attention span of my audience is smaller. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's a good thing to aim for. I mean, especially I think attention spans are kind of shrinking across the board in certain applications. So having something that's maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes is not so bad anymore.
Well, the cool thing about your podcast, and Laura just said it, she goes, oh my gosh, I feel like we're sitting in the living room talking to, Ed and Ashley. So that's cool.
That's what
wait,
we aim for.
There's an audience here? That's not what we're doing?
One thing I wanted to ask about.
You mentioned about being an NPR voice.
Yeah.
I think you would be really great, Ed, because you're so calming and kind of like, so chill about it.
Oh.
So we played for an NPR thing, a local NPR thing. We were in the parking lot, and our band, the Sweet Potatoes, we were in before this. We played, and between songs, I would say, people were just walking by, and I would say, you may not recognize me, but I'm Ira Glass. or go, yes, you haven't seen me in person, but I'm Audie Cornish.
And then
That's
you'd
brilliant.
be like, could it? Is it?
And then Laura and Kelly would go, shut up, Rick. He's lying.
Would you ever kind of go along with the bit? Would you take it a bit further than that?
Well, I tried to do a little Ira Glass. You know how he talks like this, and then he runs words together, and he comes to something like this. And he talks. So I introduced one of our songs as Ira Glass, and both the girls at once said, would you stop it?
That's awesome. I was hoping you would at least try, like, okay, let's see how long I can ride this for.
Right. Hi, I'm Peter Sagal, and this is the Sweet Potatoes playing their rendition of Baby You Can Drive My Car.
Nice.
Wow, that's pretty good.
There you go. You can start your own kind of shadow NPR, pirate NPR network.
I'm sure there's a big audience for that.
It's like a podcast all on its own.
Yeah.
But I've listened to the podcast, by the way, and it's fantastic. absolutely love your stories, Rick. And I think one of my favorite things about it is also the intro and the outro. The banter between the two of you is just so perfect, and it's just it's magnetic to listen to.
Thank you. We're that charming and fun all the time at home.
Well, from what we've seen, it's true.
How has that to kind of jump off of that? How did that how does that dynamic evolved over the years for you two? How is sort of performing together really evolved for you from when you first started?
You want to take it, Laura?
Yeah. Well, we started out performing together because we met when we were touring with the Second City.
Mm-hmm.
So we started even before we were a couple, we were performing together. So it's definitely a place where we meet, you know what I mean? A place that's comfortable for us. But then in recent years, it has been more of either just the two of us, or like with the Sweet Potatoes, we were just a trio. And I think there is a little bit of and I mean this in a good way, that I practically know what he's going to say before he says it.
I knew she was going to say that.
Did you know he was going to say that?
I did. I knew he was going to say that.
We could do this all day long.
But yeah, we're really lucky. We've got a lot of friends who are creatives who can't work together. Mm-hmm. But I think since we met working together, we fell in love while we were touring, which was kind of a no-no to fall in love with somebody in the cast and have a relationship when you got to be on the road together if things go wrong, which so far, we've been together 35 years or so.
We're doing
Yeah, we'll make it, maybe.
The other thing that I think is good for us is that we've sort of expanded creatively, because we start where we met was the world of improv. But then having done, doing theater together, doing the podcast together, doing, playing in a band together, that kind of stuff. So it's it keeps having different kinds of creative challenges and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think that has been really great. So that's part of why it keeps feeling interesting and creative for us.
Yeah, I've started actually a new project right now. A friend of mine who is a writer, Phil Swan, has asked me to do the audio book of one of his books. So I'm in the studio working on that. It is a huge endeavor. And Laura is, thank God, I love this woman. She's editing all my stuff so I'm very grateful for that.
That's fantastic. It sounds like you two have kind of a pretty good kind of balanced workload between the two of you.
Yeah, I think so. And, musically, both with music, with improv, with theater, with all of it, you know what I mean? And we sort of can take different roles in different parts of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do get a break from each other. Like Laura, when she's doing Whose Line Is It Anyway, she's in that world, and I'm just taking care of the kids in the house while she's really focused on getting ready for each taping, and I need to take care of things at home more then. And then I'll go to Chicago and do a play for 3 months, and I guess you hold down the fort while I'm here. I don't know.
The kids were still alive when you got back.
That's right.
So.
You're right.
I think that kind of balance is really, really important in between a partnership, and it's amazing that you have that. It's something that Ed and I talk about quite a bit. I mean, most of you guys know, some of you might not, that Ed and I are not in a romantic relationship, but we are in a relationship.
Yeah.
But we balance each other very, very well. As also, we have we work together, but we also work independently, and we have this great balance of back and forth. Whatever he can't or doesn't do, I'm I got this, and vice versa. And very rare do we sit there going at a standstill. So it's nice that you have that and the romantic partnership as well. That's
Yeah.
pretty rare to have all those things, and it's really incredible to see.
And we did fairly early on in our relationship, we agreed that if working together on anything felt like it was eroding our relationship, our marriage, that we would stop, because it just felt like obviously, you have to prioritize.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Well, we're glad that you have not stopped.
Yeah.
And we have not eroded our relationship.
Yeah, we're mostly glad for that.
I understand, Laura, that you've been doing some kind of a video series for teaching. Is it musical improv? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, again, the pandemic sort of makes you rethink, what kind of projects you can do and what can I do at home. And I've had this idea for a long time, but never felt like I had the time for it. So it's to teach musicians how to play for improv, like what I do on Whose Line. What are you laughing about?
Sorry.
I just saw our title at the bottom of the page. As a joke, they said, "How do you want to be referred to?" And I said, "Her Royal Highness and the Consort Prince."
So they did. They took you at your word.
You put it in there. That's how I have to refer to you. So
I just noticed that too.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay, Laura, go on with your little story.
So anyway, I've been recording. I started a series of videos. At first I thought, do I have enough to say about it? And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much to say about it. But it's one of those things that I learned how to do just over the years. Like, no one taught me. So now when you're trying to sort of quantify to be able to teach, and then I also want to like demonstrate and give exercises and that kind of stuff, like you really have to think about this thing that you just know intuitively.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting process. And then I'm going to put it on Teachable or one of those kind of formats, where people can download it. And partly because there aren't people teaching it in very many contexts. And so if you want to work with an improv group and you're at your college in Ames, Iowa, there's no one to teach you how to do it.
Right.
So that was the thinking behind it.
And is it strictly sort of being able to create songs kind of on the fly, working with a kind of comedy improv group or any kind of improv group, or is it more of like musical improvisation in general?
It's really in the context of improv comedy,
Okay.
like Whose Line or Second City or, one of the multitudes of improv groups around the world.
Okay.
Improv has just really blossomed in the last few years. And so there's groups everywhere. And a lot of them want to include music but don't know how. So it is the making up songs, again, like we do on Whose Line, where we're improvising songs. But it's also, it's like everything. I talk about gear. I talk about playing in different genres, which is something we do on Whose Line, and a lot of times people ask me about. So how do you listen to, surf music and then figure out how to improvise a song in the style of surf, that
Gotcha.
kind of thing. And then it's also like underscoring, playing the top and the bottom of the show, getting along with actors,
Yeah.
singers. It's like I tried to be super comprehensive all around the gig. You know what I mean? Because people a lot of times think, oh, it's just playing a hoedown. But it's actually like considerably wider, especially for live improv, is even wider than what we do on Whose Line.
I was going to make a joke. Are you going to have a section about how important it is to have a really loving, caring husband? But it's funny. We teach improv music, so we teach actors how to do what we do, and we've taught all over the world. And every now and then, young performers will pull us aside and say, "How do you live in Los Angeles and have a family and a life, a normal life too?" And those are, not that you're doing that section, but that's one thing that it's a juggling act,
Yeah, I imagine so.
I bet, yeah.
It is for all performers,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah.
mean, you guys know how if you're on the road a lot, that's so fantastic because you're really connecting with people like everywhere. And I love that. That's what I love about being on the road. It's like connecting with people, whether it's, 20 people at a time, but you're like having that connection. But then, yeah, if you want to balance a family life or, owning a house,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. It's really a challenge. And when people ask me, how do you do it? My answer is always, I have no idea. We somehow fumbled our way through this long.
It's true.
But-
The only thing we haven't been successful at is having a garden, because every time we go on the road, whoever's watching our house lets our garden die. So that's the sacrifice.
And you have a pretty epic garden too, so I imagine that's a tough role to fill when you're on the road.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially when you do things like grow grapes.
Yeah.
They grow on their own, luckily.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're just wild. Once you plant them, they just do their thing.
Well, I just killed a basil plant and I killed a mint leaf plant.
Good job.
So thank you. I bought a succulent and I haven't killed that yet. I figured those are a lot harder to kill.
Yeah, a succulent is like a Subaru. You can't kill it.
Very true. And Lord knows we've tried. So
Yeah, we've almost done it.
If Subaru wants you for their partners, to sponsor you again, you can use that line. Subaru, it's like a succulent. You can't kill it.
And we've tried. Yeah, we're writing for Subaru now. Mm-hmm. This is getting good. Well, I've always admired that ability because, Ed and I don't have families or homes of our own. And I think since COVID hit, we've kind of been forced into that role, but we're not on the road. And I do think it's really admirable and interesting to me. And what's the word I'm looking for? I'll find it, but but I don't know how you do all of that. It's something I don't think that I would be able to do myself. So I think it's fantastic that you're able to balance all those things and still have a level head on your shoulder and have not gone completely insane yet as well. So that, as far as I know.
Well, maybe Ira Glass will do a story on us.
Yeah, I think you've got that covered.
Yeah.
yeah.
There you go. And actually, we really don't know how to do anything else. So
Yeah.
we're stuck with this.
That's kind of what we've come to.
No, you're
Yeah.
right. We know how to do things.
Right. I've got a farm in Illinois. I was just back there. I was helping cattle have their baby calves. So there you go.
Okay. Well, you've got animal husbandry to fall back on then.
And I've been cutting his hair since the pandemic, so I can fall back on that.
Look at this haircut. Isn't that a great haircut?
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah, that's impressive. I'm just letting it go. I'm like, oh, the root thing that's in, right? Or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Very with the times.
Yeah, I'm trying.
What other things have you come to in light of the pandemic? That's kind of something I've been asking a lot of people lately. I mean, besides the new things that you're doing, has there been any other changes that you've had to make or things that you've attempted and stuff like that?
Okay. I don't want to be insensitive to people because people are going through really hard times. But as an actor, I have dry months, like periods of time where I can't book a job for months, and I'm just auditioning and auditioning and auditioning and still not booking jobs. So during the pandemic, the only difference is I'm not auditioning. So,
Yeah.
and I do have a commercial that got renewed, so we're getting by, but it's making us look at our creative endeavors, my storytelling and stuff. We're really working on how do we use what we got in a different way,
Yeah.
How's that?
That's very good.
Thank you, honey.
That's very good. And I have to say, I do really miss the connection with live audiences. I'm sure you guys feel this too. I miss the the person to person part of it.
Yeah.
And also like with teaching improv, which is very person to person, you know, it's really you have a very intense period of time with the small group that you're teaching.
Yeah.
So I miss that. It has made it definitely, I think, like for a lot of us though, it has made me look at what's important in life, you know, and like the connections. Like you know, it's harder to see your family, so trying to make sure we're keeping up with phone calls, and you know, I'm going to Zoom with my sisters and my dad later on today, you know, that kind of stuff. Like trying to stay connected in whatever ways we can. But it also just makes me really appreciate the connections with people, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I absolutely understand that, and I think that has been one of the bright spots, is sort of a increased appreciation for that sort of stuff, increased appreciation for your talents, I think, because you have to kind of look at them with a microscope to figure out how you're going to use them right now. And that's certainly what we've had to run into, like when we put all this together. I mean, we didn't really have the intention of doing a podcast first off, but we had this whole kind of house of cards of things that we put together to keep performing. It's like, well, this is something we always wanted to try. Why don't we try it now? And so I think that's what a lot of artists are finding.
And you still build on the skills you have. Like, okay, I'm going to give you an example. When you guys started the show, I happen to know a little backstory that Ashley was pretty tired. She'd driven a day and everything. And you were like, you had it in first gear, Ashley. But when Ed started playing the music, you turned, I don't know, the switch came on and you started singing. And I'm like, here she is sitting in somebody's house in Arizona and performing. And so, I mean, it was really cool.
Yeah.
And we all go to that well, and it was cool to watch you guys both do that.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing about performing. Like I've been doing a little mini show on Instagram every weekday, just to kind of, for a few reasons, just to kind of keep my chops up, you know, for one thing, and also just to kind of stay connected with that audience. And it's just 3 songs every day, and I have to make myself do it. And the last thing I want to do is hit that red button and go live. And sometimes, and I say every day I'm going to go live at 1, and sometimes, you know, I'm unemployed, so sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 4 where I finally make myself hit that button. But I do it, and as soon as I hit it and I sing like the first note, then I'm in it. And then I'm like, okay, I'm so glad I made myself do this, because it makes you, you know, whatever, like what you were saying earlier about using what, you put it much more eloquently, but using what you have to work with and making it work for you. It's in just a different, more creative way. I think we're all finding that right now, and finding that part inside of us and pulling it out. And that is pretty cool to see happen with you guys within ourselves. And I feel like we're all learning a little bit more about ourselves and each other during that process.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It does sort of challenge us to use our creativity in different ways, and to, you know, it changes the game. Yeah. You know.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I'm going to answer a question. Alice Williams, is that your mom, Ed?
Yes.
She asked what part of Illinois. My farm is in Carrollton, Illinois, about 60 miles north of St. Louis, but in Illinois, just a little farming town.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's not so far away. I'm from St. Louis originally. So
that's right. That's right.
So yeah, that's not that far away at all.
Nope.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, we've got one more question for the both of yous.
An important one.
A very important one. So I hope you have your answer ready, even though you don't know what the question is.
I'm going to give you an answer beforehand. No, we are not having any more children.
Okay. That could actually be a valid answer to this one, I would think.
It could, in a weird way.
Yeah. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
To have more children. Oh, I've heard heard you ask this to other people, and I didn't think about it. Because how about
That's okay. You can shoot from the hip.
Yep.
I would say for me, it would be, this is a vague superpower, but like to be able to, when I see things wrong in the world, or when I see, to be able to be more clear to communicate that with people, to know how to communicate with people if I see like injustice or people being racist or sexist or, that kind of thing, to be able to know what to say, because I feel like a lot of times I don't know how to communicate. I feel like societally we've sort of lost that ability.
Yeah.
To communicate with people that, are different from us or have different points of view. But I wish I knew how to communicate and say to people how I feel about things in that way. That's really a vague answer.
no?
That's cool.
That's a good one. That's an interesting one. Yeah.
Okay, and it's going to make mine sound really stupid. I want the superpower to eat fried chicken all day and not get high cholesterol.
Oh,
That's
I would love that.
just as fantastic as Laura's, but in a very different way.
I am so shallow.
It sounds like a lot more fun, though.
Yeah, your superpower sounds more fun than mine.
Right.
Yeah, saving the world, eating fried chicken. I don't know. It's a tough call for
Why
me.
not both? Hey.
I pick both.
There you go.
Well, we are super thrilled that both of you could join us today. Where can everyone find more of Rick and Laura Hall, on the internet or elsewhere?
Laura?
My website is laurahall.com, and I'm on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and they're all Laura Hall Music for all three.
Yep.
So that makes it easy.
And-
Rick?
And I'm at therickhall.com, because Rick Hall was taken, so you got to put therickhall.com, or you can just look up Consort Prince. Yeah, the link to my podcast, So Says Rick, is on my website. And boy, if you got a chance to check it out, I really appreciate having. Every time somebody downloads it, I'm like, yay, thank you, that's so nice.
Yeah, and it's on all the formats like yours. It's on Stitcher and iTunes and
Yeah.
all of the formats. So you can either just search it that way, or go to his website and then.
By the way,
that link.
I'm going to have Laura tell a story, maybe next week or the episode after that. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Wonderful.
And actually, our daughter wants to tell a story. I don't know if you heard the one about the water on the dance floor.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she wants to tell a story sort of in response.
Her version, because I flooded her middle school dance studio by doing a repair there. I broke a pipe. So she would like to tell her version of it.
Oh, that's cool.
I cannot wait for that.
Yeah, I
That
think
story is absolutely brilliant. Well,
Yeah.
I so many of your stories are so brilliant,
Yeah.
Rick, and I love that one. And I've heard Laura tell stories as well about just kind of. I remember we were sitting around eating a hamburger during Far West, and she told us this really, really funny story. And I remember thinking, wow, Laura is an amazing storyteller too. So I am definitely gonna listen to all those episodes. So I'm excited.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
And thanks for having us on. This
Yeah,
is such
this
a
is great.
treat. Such a nice way to see you
It's
guys.
like we get to visit you guys. There you go.
Yeah. This is fantastic with
know.
us and several of our friends.
That's right.
Yeah, I kind of don't want it to end.
But you have more segments of your show to do.
Oh.
And we'll be, like Ira Glass would say, we'll be right back with more segments later.
I'm just going to clip that for our eventual ad reads.
Yes, please.
We'll have to do.
Or just like, yeah, before each segment, that's just gonna insert Rick Hall.
Well, we really do appreciate it. Thank you both so much for joining us today. And I stay safe out there, and I hope you guys have a lot of success with everything that you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thanks, you too.
Bye-bye.
All right, see ya.
Bye. Great to see you.
Bye.
They're so funny.
Yeah, they're two of the funniest people that we know.
It's almost like they've been doing improv their whole lives or something. They're just on it.
Yeah, it's almost like they were at Second City or something.
Yeah,
I
or
don't know.
something. They both of them, like on the spot, they come up with the perfect sentence that I never would have thought of.
Yeah.
And then it's so brilliant.
Yeah, I think I was thinking back on this. It was kind of funny how we actually met them. It was at the first Far West we went to,
Yep.
and I think Brad actually recognized her first, or overheard and then recognized her, and immediately became starstruck. And he told me, and I immediately became starstruck. I was like, "No way, that's Laura."
Yeah, you guys were totally nerding out.
And Ashley was like, "Who's that?"
I was like, whose line is it anyway?
Yeah. So naturally, she's the one who initiates befriending them because Ashley's fearless like that. And
Well, they were really cool people.
They're very cool
I
people.
met Rick first, and just kind
yes.
of, and he's so personable. He
really is.
Rick's never met a stranger, kind of a thing. So we
Yeah.
just started chit chatting in the hallway, and then he told me, he's like, I think he told me immediately, yeah, my wife and I, we have a band. We're here with the Sweet Potatoes, and she's been, she's the MD for Whose Line Is It Anyway? And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I think, yeah, and then I met up with you guys, and then we just really hit it off with them. It was like when we started hanging out with them, they were just really, really, really nice people.
Yeah, and like we could relate to them pretty easily on some fronts because we both we're all working musicians and working performers.
Yeah.
And we travel and we tour, and that tends to really you tend to find your people when you talk to them, and you kind of realize that, and they have been on the road before and are working hard, and so we kind of understood that we understood each other.
And there was a moment during Far West where I think this was in the second year, but there was an accordion contest, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And Laura was like, I'm thinking about entering it, and we were all like, you have to enter it. And I think she had asked Ed to play guitar on it. Is that right?
I was gonna play guitar.
Yeah, so they got to work up this really cool accordion arrangement, and they then they like practiced at the house, and then they showed up, and then not enough people signed up for the contest, so they canceled it.
Oh, we're so crestfallen after that. We played anyway, though.
You did. I think we asked one of the rooms. We're like, can they just play their song? And he's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And I filmed it. It's somewhere.
You filmed it. I've got it somewhere. I'll probably throw it in maybe either next week or the week after.
Yeah.
As a showcase vid, because that was actually pretty fun.
Well, I got more. Because I've never seen Whose Line Is It Anyway? Like I said, until of course after we met them, then I started watching it. I was like, that is Laura.
Yeah,
There
she's
she
been on
is.
that show a very long time.
But also Rick's been in a bunch of stuff that you guys have probably seen. A lot of TV shows. He is a working actor, and one of my favorite things that he's in, I actually seen the episode of Seinfeld where he plays the doctor that like saves the squirrel or something, and Seinfeld, and it's a really funny scene, and they loved it so much that they even asked him back again to play for a repeat performance with this doctor. Yeah, I believe. I hope that's right. Otherwise, I'm just totally making it up, and it sounds pretty good anyway. So we'll just go with it.
But yeah, it was really wonderful talking to them, because we've spent a decent amount of time with them, and we do miss kind of spending time with the people that we've we typically stay with, and they were kind enough after the first Far West to say, hey, if you need a place to crash anytime you're coming through LA, let us know. And that actually was really nice of them. So
Yep. And we were like, yes, we will. We did. Showed up.
And we did. So yes, please check out both Laura Hall and Rick Hall. Is laurahall.com and therichall.com. Rick's podcast, So Says Rick. Find it on your podcast app. It's wonderful. And keep an eye out for Laura's teaching series if you've ever wanted to learn how to perform music with improv groups, like she does and like she has done for the past, forever. Then keep an eye out for her new series coming out.
And Rick has just corrected me that it was a veterinarian, not a doctor. Whoops.
The other doctor. Yeah.
The animal doctor.
Cool.
All right. Yeah, I admire those improv skills too. I'm not very good at it.
I can improv like solo, but not kind of come up with songs immediately. Like basically that's really like taking Lego blocks and putting them together.
Yeah.
In different ways each time. That's kind of what that's what's going on there.
Yeah. Well, the genre comment was interesting too.
Yeah.
Because I was like, yeah, that would be hard. Like play a, improvise a blues thing, improvise a country thing. Like you'd have to switch your brain into a different thing. Yeah. And that would be very difficult, I think. I have a hard enough time. People ask me this a lot. I don't know why. People want me to, just make something up, Ash, on the spot. I think, Ed, you've gotten this too. And we're always like, no. I mean, like at a show or whatever. Or jamming. Like, let's jam. Let's make something up. And I'm like, I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm perfectly capable of doing it. I just don't want to anymore. Not
jamming
like as much. Yeah. Like I'm absolutely capable of doing it. It's something my brain doesn't really give much time to anymore. It's kind of weird, but yeah.
Ed doesn't like to jam.
Not anymore. But yeah. All right, I guess it's request time, eh?
Yeah. We had a request for a Hand of Fate dragon. There's one glitch in this plan, and that glitch is that I did not bring my guitar with me to Arizona. No, I did not forget it. I just chose to be lazy. So we can, I don't know, Hand of Fate that might be kind of weird without without two guitars.
Might be a little weird without two guitars, I think.
But yeah, let's save that for next week.
Okay.
We'll do the Hand of Fate dragon medley next week for you, Alice. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be so much better when we have two guitars.
I knew there was one thing we were going to do today. That was it.
It was the one thing that I'm unprepared to do. How about we do the anchor instead?
Oh, yeah. Let me get my thing right here.
I'm just trying to think of songs I don't play on. Yeah, it was I'm very, very happy I did not bring my guitar, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. It's just one thing, but it's a big thing.
Yeah, well, I know our listeners can't see this, but this is my bottle of Advil that I had in the car with me after I arrived in Arizona, after my air conditioning broke down. This is what happened to the Advil. And keep in mind, this was sitting like in my bag in the shade on the floor of the car underneath another bag. So it's not like it was like sitting out in the sun. It full on melted into one giant Advil.
Yeah, there's no coming back from that.
No. And just, I've left my guitar out in the heat before and like stuff falls apart. So I'm glad I don't have to fix anything.
Okay. Guitar. Is guitar there?
Yep.
Cable for this one. Da-da-da.
There's an anchor at the bottom of the ocean, staring up at the roof of the sea, at the ship who's casting its... Sorry. Hold on.
Okay.
We gotta start that over.
Okay.
This is getting cut out of the show. This is what I'd like to call overheated brain that can't remember the song that I literally sing a billion times a year. I don't have my lyric book with me either, and now I'm completely forgetting that line. What is it?
The ship casting shadows on its garden. Is that it?
Good Lord. Okay. A 1, a 2, a 3. There's an anchor at the bottom of the ocean, staring up at the roof of the sea, at the ship casting shadows on its garden of bottles and ropes and weeds. And the anchor is covered in coral, 'cause she's been waiting there for way too long, for the ship to pull up on her heartstrings to the sun where she belongs.
How long will she wait for the wet?
Buckle her knees.
How
and
long
wait,
can she hold her
for
breath?
they all think she's dead. She can hold on to.
But she won't believe the ship is you.
And the anchor is me. And the ship has forgotten the anchor, and our sailors cast her over the side. And now as he sails for the harbor, he slowly dragged her behind.
How long will she wait for the wet?
Buckle her knees.
How
and
long can she hold
wait,
her
for
breath?
they all think
She
she's
can wait.
dead. She can hold on to.
But she won't believe the ship is you.
And the anchor is me. There's a snail at the bottom of the ocean. He's been chewing on strings in the weeds. He bit the last one like a rubber band gun and set the anchor free.
How long will she wait for the wet?
Buckle her knees.
How
and
long can she
wait,
hold her
before
breath?
they all think she's dead? She holds on to.
And now she knows the snail is you.
And the anchor is free. Lyrics are hard.
That's true.
Can you do what I knew, Ed?
Sure. I think that's the same. Yeah. Where did I do this? Oh, yeah, there we go. I can. The moon revolves around the earth around the sun revolves around you, because you are the one who dominates the lifetimes of thoughts I can't subdue. And you're that was what I knew. Fire burns and also cleanses. Tears do much the same. Both of them were inside of you. It set my heart aflame. But the fires were put out fast, and tears left a sickly hue. You never were the same again. That was what I knew. Did I ever feel bad for the urges that I had? Were they real or misdirection? Were they given without discretion? It was the real thing I felt for you. That was what I knew. Time heals the wounded, medicine works too. Where did you hide your bottle? I already knew. Sleepless nights and restless days, trying to hide from your sunny gaze. The past was cruel, but I was too. That was what I knew. Did I ever feel alive? Had I already died? What is life without your voice? Did I give you a choice? It wasn't my design to fall for you. That was what I knew. Stubbornly I toss and turn, woken by the sound of the thought police again. They must be gaining ground. And so I leave a letter by the fireside for you. I would have done it differently. Would have done for you. Would have loved you differently. That was what I knew. I really like playing it in that key.
I like that you play it on the electric.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In fact, Rick was commenting on that too.
Oh. I will continue to do that then, unless I just feel like getting the acoustic out. Awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like a nice kind of Jeff Buckley move.
Ah,
I think.
that's awesome.
Very nice, Ed.
Thank you.
All right, well,
All right. Next up.
tips and tricks. This is something Ed and I can both kind of chime in on.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about the PROs today, which stands for Performing Rights Organization. And basically what the PROs do is they protect your music.
Yeah. They exist to kind of help make sure that the correct amount of money goes to publishers and songwriters when their music is performed. So hence the name Performing Rights Organizations.
And you know, I just want to, before we kind of jump in completely, I found this really interesting article. It was actually sent to me by my friend and co-writer and producer on a song that I did through BandLab, and his name is Alihu, and he sent me this article, which kind of led me to an article by the same person, and he was talking about, well, what constitutes songwriting? Like, what does it mean to write a song? And he says, and I'll kind of share this link in the notes, and we can throw it up in the show notes as well. But what constitutes songwriting as an entertainment lawyer is a single question I get asked the most, and without a doubt is one of the most important complex questions in the music industry today. And I mean, the problem is what constitutes the songwriting? Is it the person who puts the lyrics to a melody on a guitar, or is the drummer part of the songwriting experience because he wrote the drum beat? And actually, it's gonna look very different for everybody. It just kind of, the end of the day, really, it's up to the people involved. Is the problem. So it's all a very, very big gray area.
There's no catch-all for that particular situation.
Yeah.
It depends on genre. It depends on, and then even then it can depend on the individuals involved, just like Ash said. So,
yeah, I mean, legally, the songwriting is explained as lyrics and music, but music can also be, chords and instruments too. So, I mean, it's best to work it out amongst the songwriters and musicians before releasing anything.
as soon as possible too.
Yeah.
You don't want to wait on that stuff.
No, it can get a little bit funky and a little bit weird.
Yep.
If you do. So that's why I especially wanted to bring that up to our BandLab friends, because, we're all making music in there and everyone's collaborating on stuff. So who's a songwriter at the end of the day, though? It's something that you have to work out ahead of time before you start collaborating on a project. Otherwise it can get kind of ugly, even though, for a lot of us, there's going to be zero money seen at the end of it. But a lot of it, it's more than the money. It's like, well, but who owns what of that piece? There's no money shared between me and this bubbly sparkling water, but I know it's mine because I drank it and I owned it after I put my lips to this thing. So how does it work in the songwriting world? That's a terrible example.
That's fine.
I'm done. I'm out.
Well, and it's also good to get it worked out because these kind of agreements may exist in perpetuity. So after you die, for example, if your song happens to blow up after you pass away, who owns what? Which estates get what money? That is a consideration as well. So you do want to get it ironed out somehow for kind of a future case where whether you are living or dead, you will get paid. People will get paid the right amount of money. So how do songwriters and artists get paid in the first place? Well, there's 3 different ways. The first is a mechanical royalty, okay? And this is usually a percentage of a sale of a physical recording, say a CD or a vinyl, or a permanent download or a direct download, say like from the iTunes store or from Amazon MP3 store, or from the now defunct CD Baby store. But that sort of thing, if you're downloading an MP3 or a Apple audio file, that constitutes the songwriters and the artists getting mechanical royalties. And typically you need something like a publishing admin to collect those kind of royalties on your behalf. We can get into that in a second. The next are performance royalties. Okay, so these are typically these are done for non-interactive mediums. So things like radio, Pandora, not jukeboxes, 'cause those are interactive. Live performances. That's typically where these are going to fall, and the PROs plus another entity called Sound Exchange are the people who are going to collect these royalties and disperse them on behalf of their member artists. And the final kind is a sync licensing, a quote-unquote royalty. It's more of a sync license. And that is when you use a piece of music in a television or on a film. And typically you will need a PRO so everybody knows who gets paid what. So those are your three kinds of royalties: mechanical, performance, sync licensing. And typically PROs that we're going to go into a little bit more detail, they deal mostly with the performance royalty side of it. So let's see. You want me to keep going? I can keep going.
Yeah, sure. You're doing great.
So we're kind of front-loading this information because it's necessary to know how this part works before you understand what the PROs are actually doing.
Yeah.
So the next thing we're going to touch on are shares of a particular song, a publishing share versus a writer share, because they are different. The person who publishes the song, or the person or entity who publishes the song, is not necessarily the person who wrote it. A lot of times that's the case. That's mostly the case with us. We publish our own stuff, so we are the publisher and the writers. But that's not always going to be the case. In some cases, in a few cases, we are the publisher, but we are not the sole writer. And that's typically on a per song basis. So they are different. And
there might be a time when we are not, this hasn't happened yet, but it might be a time where we aren't the publisher as well.
Yep.
And that would happen, let's say, if we signed a publishing deal with a company that wants to pitch our music to, say, TV shows and movies, then they would then be representing us. And so then they would be the publisher. And they would ask for a certain percentage of the publishing. They would not touch the songwriting, though, which is why it's so important that this is divided up as 200% and not 100%. And it's also why it's so important that independent musicians make sure you get a publishing register as your own publishing company with one of the PROs, because you're going to want to register if you're in charge of your own music and you don't have a publisher pushing it out there and you want your stuff represented. You have to register your song as 100% yourself as a songwriter. Get a publishing name. This is very important. A publishing name through the PRO, and register the other 100% as the publishing name with your PRO.
Yep. So in essence, you're sort of setting up your own publishing company. It's nothing formal in like a business document or anything, but it's what's kind of called a vanity name. But which
is kind of fun.
Yeah, it's kind of nice because then you can obviously make that a publishing company later if you get bigger, you get more involved in it.
Yep.
But yeah, that ensures that you are controlling, as Ash said, 200% of the song. And why do we say 200%? Why is that, Ash?
It's because 100% is the songwriting, and then the other 100% is the publishing. I mean, you could look at it as 50-50, but they don't, and that's non-negotiable. The 200% is across the line with all the, at least in the American PROs. I'm actually not sure how that works out internationally. I'm guessing it would be the same or similar.
I haven't seen anything
Okay.
about it, but
Yeah, but it clears it up a little bit. It sounds like it's a little bit funky. Well, why wouldn't you just divide it by 50-50? Well, here's why. Because now this publisher cannot touch your songwriting. You should never give away your songwriting percentages, and they're not going to ask you to because they're two separate things. So when you register your song, they're not going to go 100% the songwriting. So you're not going to go, well, 50% of that is owed to the publisher. No, that's the publishing section. They're not going to touch your songwriting, and they didn't write it. Don't give it up. Don't give it away.
right. So to that, it's important to note that when we talk about publishing, we are talking about, in essence, kind of producing this music for distribution and disbursement out to people. And so we have to kind of note that there are two different things to consider here. That's why we're kind of talking about this 200% thing, and also why we're trying to separate the song and the artist and the publisher, or the songwriter and the publisher, I should say.
Yep.
The song does not equal the recording. Okay, those are two separate things. So you can write a song and have, the lyrics written down in a book and the melody written down in a book. Maybe you have your own recording of the melody. And that belongs to the songwriter. Okay, so that's the song. And then you have the recording. So maybe you did the recording too, in which case you own 200%. Okay, you can publish that recording on your own, and you own the song. So there you go. That's the entirety of it owned by you. If someone else records the song, then whoever's doing their publishing will own the publishing rights for that recording. But the song still belongs to you. So if you're covering a song, you can get royalties on the published part of it, meaning the recorded part, the master recording, as it might be called. But you've still got to pay royalties back to the songwriter because they wrote the song. It's not your song. So that's why we're separating the song and the recording. If they're the same person, which is the case for us a lot of the time, then we would collect both sets of percentages. But usually, if they're not the same, then the songwriter gets the song portion, and whoever wrote the song gets the songwriter portion, and whoever published the song gets the publishing portion. And that's important to note because, again, so many times people who write the songs may not record them. The label may hire an artist to record a particular song, or an artist may just pick a song somebody else wrote, in which case the artist would be able to publish it and get those royalties, but they would still owe royalties back to the songwriter. So it's important to note, song does not equal recording. So now we've established all this. What does a PRO actually do? What do they do? What's their main job? Well, their main job, as we sort of alluded to earlier, is to collect performance royalties on behalf of their member artists, okay, and their member songwriters. So, and their member publishing companies, all of those people, when they belong to a PRO, the PRO goes out and sells what are called blanket licenses for their member songs catalogs, or member song catalogs. So they can sell these blanket licenses to venues. They can sell these licenses to individuals who maybe have their own little performing thing. They can sell these blanket licenses to other companies that are performing these sorts of things, radio stations, stuff like that. So all of these potential customers, in order to be able to perform their member songs catalog, they need a license from the appropriate agency. Otherwise, they could get fined or sued or that sort of thing. So who are the major ones in the U.S.? ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC are the three biggest ones. There are a number of other ones as well. But those are the three big ones. And typically, that's from what I've seen, that's mostly an American thing. Mm-hmm. Most other countries have one, and it's usually government run. GEMA comes to mind in Germany. That's a government run PRO. And they are very serious about it. If you've ever performed in Germany, basically after the show, before you can get paid, you have to fill out a GEMA form that lists what songs you played, who wrote them, who recorded them, all this stuff, and then it'll basically get sent to the main office. But they take it very seriously there. So, but in the U.S., you're either going to be with ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC. You cannot belong to one. You cannot belong to two of them at the same time. Got to pick one. Mm-hmm. And what the PROs will do is they go out and they will, again, they sell these licenses to, let's give an example, say venues, for example, and the venues will pay them, and then they can say, all right, you can play BMI writers' music here. And then ASCAP will come to them and say, all right, if you want to have ASCAP music here, you got to pay us the license fee. And they do that. And then CSAC will come and say, all right, if you want to have CSAC music here, you got to pay us and we'll give you the license. And then the venues are covered. And if anybody goes in and plays any music from one of those that's represented by one of those agencies, then the particular parties involved, the songwriters and the publishers, will get the money split from those license fees. There's an arcane formula for weighting it. I don't really know what it is.
No, they dip into the radio and film and TV scoring as well, right? And they collect on behalf of you for that as well. In
a way, like when you do music and TV, they will they need to have a record of who to pay. So yeah, like that's who the people are going to go to and like, hey, mm-hmm. Who owns this song and who owns the publishing? Who owns the master and who owns the song? And then BMI says, oh, it's these people. I'm like, okay, well, here you go.
Which, side note on the small venues as well, it can be a little bit harmful sometimes. Ed and I have had a lot of past frustrations with the PROs because, they'll go after the really small venues that just want to have music every once in a while and ask for a large sum of money in order to have it there. And a few times the venues just said, you know what, let's say it's a wine bar or a brewery or something that back in specifically early Witherward days, we were playing a lot of those, and then they would one day just be like, hey guys, we can't have you play here anymore because ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC are all coming after me for this money. And honestly, I just don't make very much here. So I'd rather just not host the music at all than have to play it and have you here. And so we would get frustrated because it's like, well, wait, they're supposed to be representing us, but they're actually costing us gigs. And I don't mean this happened one or two times. I mean, it happened like one or two handful of times. I'd have to go back and think about all the specific examples, but it does get really frustrating sometimes, especially when there's the BMI has this great thing called BMI Live. I'm not sure if ASCAP or CSAC does this, but you can enter every time you perform a show, you can enter in which songs you played and the name of the venue and send it in, and you get a very small paycheck, and it comes quarterly, so it does add up, especially if you're playing a lot. But the problem is if you enter in a venue that doesn't have live, that hasn't paid off ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC, and they just, decided to have the little local indie band play come once or whatever, then you're tipping them off. So it's just kind of a weird thing. So sometimes we didn't always love announcing where we were playing and whatnot, because we want the venues and we want to support the small businesses that are going out of their way to host live music and put an importance on live music. So it's just kind of a weird, jury's still out on that one for us, of like, are they being bullies? Or is this a good thing to put the value on the music? I still can't totally make up my mind on that.
Yeah, it's hard to say, because the intention is to help out songwriters.
Yeah.
And but sometimes it's at the expense of venues and gigs that songwriters need to play. Because those songwriters that are playing the gigs that perhaps will go away if they can't afford the license fees, those songwriters aren't making any money, or making hardly any money off of what BMI and ASCAP and CSAC are doing.
Yeah.
So unless you figured that part of it out, where you don't need to play out as much because you are making money off of publishing or sync placements or stuff like that, then it can become kind of a antagonistic relationship. But but for some things they are necessary.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned, for sync placements, you need to have the songs registered with one of these organizations in order for anyone to get any money.
Yeah.
You have to have it.
Yeah. And now, again, we're going to save this for another episode, but we're not entirely sure, or I'm not entirely sure, I guess Ed is, on how that has been affected since the MMA Act, which stands for the Music Monetization Act. It's something that our government set in place to kind of help with all of this that we're talking about right here.
It takes effect next year. So,
okay.
But yeah, we can do one. We can maybe do something that focuses on that. But
yeah,
the changes don't particularly affect the PRO situation, but they affect a little part of it. So I didn't want to really include it in here.
Yeah.
One thing too you want to consider, because we've already mentioned, again, register with one of these organizations if you plan on going after film placements. Sometimes you might run into trouble at venues. Sometimes, especially you'll go to a venue, and sometimes here's a situation. I actually do want to focus on this, because here's a situation we actually ran into. If you register your songs with BMI, you are, let's say BMI is the example, you are a BMI artist. And so if you go to a venue that does not have a license with BMI, you cannot play your own songs there, because your songs are registered with BMI. They are looking at venues that have BMI licenses. And so you technically can't perform your own songs there. Okay? So this is something to keep in mind when you're registering your songs.
Mm-hmm.
And if you plan on performing them out live, keep in mind, when you register them, you need to make sure that the venue has the appropriate license. So I just wanted to footnote that venue thing, because that is a situation we have actually run into. And also one other thing to consider, when you are doing when you are registering your songs with PROs, the PROs are not going to go out and collect and disperse the money to you. You still need somebody to act on your behalf to collect that money. So you will need somebody like a publishing admin company. When you register your songs, and I'm going to use CD Baby as an example. When you publish your songs through CD Baby, if you go to CD Baby Pro, they can act as a publishing admin for you. So any publishing revenue or royalties that come through as a result of your songs being played will come through CD Baby. They do take a percentage of that. The publishing side, not the songwriting side. They do not own any of your songwriting when you do this. But they will take some of the publishing royalties, and then they'll pass the rest on to you. But that way, you don't have to go individually to every single organization around the world and try to collect this money, because that could be a major headache. So companies like CD Baby and TuneCore have tiers of their distribution that will let you do this. So that way they can act as a publishing admin on your behalf. And even for things like YouTube distribution, they can act on this behalf as well. So those are things to consider when looking at a PRO. If you don't need one, like if you're just kind of doing this as a hobby and you don't see any need for it, don't worry about it yet. But if you are serious about kind of getting money from your music, whether it's being performed out live or it's going to be featured in TV and film, this is definitely something you will need to consider and work through.
Yeah. Yeah, Ed mentioned earlier, and again, that's maybe something for another podcast for another day, but this is not copywriting your material.
No, totally different.
Very different thing. It does help though, because it acts as a timestamp. Any kind of timestamp you have on your music acts as a copyright, which will hold up in the court of law. But again, I don't want to get too deep into that because that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah. But yeah, do keep in mind when you register your songs with a PRO, you are not copyrighting them. You have to do that through the U.S. Copyright Office. If you're trying to register a copyright, that's done through the Copyright Office, not through BMI or ASCAP or CSAC.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Anything else there you got?
No, I think that's pretty good. I mean, this, again, at the end of the day, it's all a very, very gray area. Do I recommend submitting your songs to a PRO? Absolutely, for a few reasons. I don't think it's 100% necessary because, I mean, at the end of the day, if you got to battle a song out, I mean, in court, you're going to do that with timestamps and but the PROs, they are going to help you, be official about it and get your music represented well. And especially what if you wrote a song back in 2002 and you forgot about it, and then that your co-writer ended up getting it on a big time commercial and you don't watch TV, you would have absolutely no idea that your co-writer is getting all this money in, right? So this is a way of protecting you. I mean, it's possible that this could actually happen. So if you are writing music, you should definitely register with a PRO, because you will then know, and you'll be in the know, and you're protected. Everything's fair, and kind of equally distributed. Now, again, I just want to bring up this example real quick, because again, with the gray area, it gets a little complicated at times. Like, I've been writing songs with people on, I keep mentioning BandLab because I'm on there a lot, but I've written a couple songs with some producers, and I say written because they'll come at me with a finished track, like a beat, especially an electronic track, and say, here's this finished piece of music. Would you like to add lyrics and a melody on top of this? And if I like it, I'll say yes. So how do we register that? Especially when this specific example with my producer, Alihu, he had already registered the track itself. So I actually had to get on the phone with BMI and be like, how do you, because we were kind of going back and forth, and he's like, well, what you do is you register the song it includes a sample track from another track. And I was like, okay, well, let me call BMI and just make sure. And she and I kind of went back and forth, and she's like, well, did you and your co-writer agree on 50-50 for the songwriting of the song? And I was like, yeah, because I did discuss it with this person, and that is what we agreed upon. She said, well, then just register it as a new write and just 50-50. I was like, okay. I still don't totally understand why, but she seemed like she was even guessing on the matter as well. So you're going to have to to discuss these things with your co-writers. Find out who their publishers are. Make sure if you're going to register a song that you've co-written with somebody, make sure that you're registering their publishing name and their songwriting name as well, because it's just best to get it all sorted out. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to call BMI ASCAP or CSAC or whoever your PRO is, because that is what they're there for. They represent you. So get on the phone with them if you have a question, and or shoot them an email or whatever, however you want to do it, because it's complicated. It's not a black and white answer a lot on how to register something. So that would be my suggestion to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. That's about it.
All right, let's see. I'll pick a couple of questions. I've seen a few questions here in the chat. There was one. Hang on. Glenn.
Yeah, I was just looking at that one too.
Yeah.
That's a very good question.
So do Witherwood have to pay royalties to Sir Paul McCartney and the estate of John Lennon each time you play Drive My Car? Yes.
Sort of.
But the way we set that up is this refers to mechanical royalties, not to this particular instance. It can refer to both mechanical royalties and performance royalties. So anytime we perform the song live, whichever organization, whichever PRO represents that particular song, they are the ones who pay out the estate, because they have collected license fees from the venues. And if we played a venue that's covered by that particular licensing agency, they will send the money out to the Paul McCartney and John Lennon, whoever it is.
Yeah. So they're getting paid every time we play, Drive My Car at venue X. And if venue X is registered with the PRO, which is why it's good that they go after them to make sure that they do get their money, then the venue, I guess, has already prepaid in a way for us to be able to perform that song there. And then BMI says, okay, well, they already prepaid that. And then they send the check off to Sir, the 3 cents to Sir Paul.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that's why they're called blanket licenses, because you have a license to perform any song represented by that PRO's catalog. If it's not in their catalog, it's not covered. So you'd have to find, so if for some reason a venue had BMI's catalog license and Drive My Car wasn't in that license, then if it was played, the place and the PRO that does represent it finds out, they would probably send a very nasty series of letters to the venue. We're not paying them directly. They're being paid by license fees collected by the PROs and then sent out to whoever is responsible for managing the publishing admin. So, yeah, that's a good question, though. And again, it is different depending on whether you're talking about a performance royalty versus a mechanical royalty.
Mm-hmm.
So, let me see. Alice, does that mean you get paid twice? Or there's
the one, I'm not sure if you saw this. What would happen if a big publishing company wanted to record one of your songs, perhaps by a national artist? Yeah, so they would represent us basically. If we have, let's say, we have a song called "Cold Dead Body," so that was written by Ed and I, and we own the songwriting and the publishing, and it is registered. So let's say that there is a national artist that wants to cover "Cold Dead Body," then basically every time this artist would record, release, perform, see any kind of money whatsoever with "Cold Dead Body," we would get a check, and they represent us, so they would be making sure that we got that check.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because in that case, the artist that recorded that song, their publisher deals with the publishing side, the money from the recordings that they make. But since we are the songwriters, we are entitled to money they make off of that as well. So
Sometimes you're asked to add there's a famous example of Sam Smith, and he wrote "Stay With Me," that big hit song, "Stay With Me," and the melody is almost 90% identical to "I Won't Back Down" from Tom Petty. So they didn't really have much of a legal dispute over it, because Tom Petty was like, listen, it's my melody, it's cool, just add me as a songwriter. And Sam Smith said okay, and that was the end of that. So Sam Smith just added Tom Petty on as a songwriter, and then forever that song got split between them.
So that is an interesting thing too, because in that case, Tom Petty would receive songwriting royalties, songwriting share royalties from Sam Smith's song.
Yeah.
In that case, even though he didn't write that specific song, but it was so close that was part of a legal dispute. So that's kind of one way they resolved it. It was like, hey, just give me songwriting credit on the song, and that way everybody's cool. It is a very popular song, so obviously I'm sure Tom Petty still made a decent amount of money.
Yeah. Yeah. And then sometimes there's a complete song, and a big time artist wants to cut it and says, I want to cut this, but you got to cut me in on your songwriting. And I would take that deal. I'd be like, sure, Taylor Swift, you can write this song with me. So again, I'm just trying to give you guys some examples of why it's such a gray area, because there's so many different things that come about. It's like, well, what about this? What about that? And you kind of just got to talk it out. And sometimes it goes to court, and then the court's going to talk it out for you if you can't work it out amongst yourselves.
Yeah. One more here from Alice again, because this is one I can address directly. Isn't that what ultimately shut down the jazz shop you used to play in Kirksville? It was Dr. Wisdom's place. I think it was called Arnie's Place. And that basically he was getting harassed by I don't know which one, probably BMI, and because his venue, it was kind of a large kind of event space, but he was having concerts in there as well. And because it was so big, I think the licensing fee, they kind of base it on like how many people you could realistically put in a particular place. And this place was so big and so empty. I mean, I think the license fee was going to be really expensive. So he's like, then I can't have music here anymore, because it's gonna bankrupt me. Despite the fact it was just him. Like it's not like he was it wasn't him and a bunch of other people running this place. It was just him.
Yeah.
So that's an example of when the PROs, in their zeal to protect songwriters, can kind of backfire on those same songwriters. So.
Yeah, which is unfortunate when it happens.
But that's I
they
think,
do a lot of good too.
Yeah.
So.
I think whether PROs are necessary at the end of the day is going to depend on who you ask.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll just leave it there.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. We're gonna wrap things up with a song.
Yeah.
And this was a really fun episode. As always, they're all fun episodes.
Yes.
I hope you think so too. And if you do, feel free to write us a review.
Yes.
You can find us, and you can write a review pretty much anywhere. You can write a review on our actual edited down podcast episodes, which you can find at Crimes Against Folk on Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and more.
Mm-hmm.
You can also find us live on Sundays. Feel free to write us a review on our Facebook page, Crimes Against Folk or Witherword. I think you can do the same on YouTube as well.
Yep.
But we appreciate any of your engagement, and please spread the word as well. For all of you watching live, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's really fun having a live audience. And for those of you watching the replay, thank you so much, because it's nice to know that you're still listening.
All right. We'll close it out here with another folky tune.
Yep. Who do we have next week, Ed?
Next week, oh man, let me look at my calendar. I want to make sure I get this right. But I believe
I think I know.
next week is Carol Pacey and Andy Barunda from Carol Pacey and the Honey Shakers.
We're all about the duos lately, aren't we?
I know, yeah. Well, we know a lot of duos in our travels.
I guess so. We've got Nicole and Scotty coming up soon too.
They're coming. I think they're the week after.
Oh God, it's a whole month of duos. I love it.
So, yeah, Carol and Andy are two just wonderful people. I just love their energy, and if you've not seen Carol Pacey and the Honey Shakers live, holy nuts! It is a force.
Show. Yeah.
Like it's a
very high energy source with lots and lots of hair flipping.
Yeah, they are really fun to watch, and they're exceptional musicians. So
really nice people.
Yeah, we're really excited to have them on the show next week. And then week after that is Nicole and Scotty.
Cool.
And then to round out August, we are going to have Felicity Collins.
Yeah, great. Another great storyteller.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic singer too.
Yeah, we don't have our tips and tricks worked out yet, but we will soon.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have some guests while we're playing this last song, by the way. So
cool.
Hi. Go ahead, I'll catch up.
It's called Sunshine and Rainbows. It's a great day for playing the playground after school. The swing sets us swinging, and the slides are pretty cool. But along in the distance, a boy sits with intent. He wonders what it feels like outside the chain link fence. A better world instead. I've got sunshine and rainbows in my head. It's a clockwork reaction. Whenever things went wrong, I would shun the world around me and build one of my own. You may say that I'm a dreamer, and Lord knows you'd be right. Pretty dreams and perfect scenes instead of sleep at night. A place with no regrets. I've got sunshine and rainbows in my head. Every year that passes by, I should be getting older, but it feels the same, still the same. And the dreams are getting bolder, getting harder to get over this insanity. I'm trapped inside. could have the money. I could have the fame. I could have a palace shaped after my name. I could find the one to catch me when I fall. I could see their smiling face. I could see it all. They're better off out there. I'll take sunshine and rainbows instead.
Well, my family's here.
They have entered.
I was like, I'm just going to let the laughter of the children hang around in the background for this song. Seems appropriate. And on that note, I think I'll go hang out with them and say hello and jump in the pool.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody, for joining us this afternoon. We really appreciate it. Again, the edited version will be out on Tuesday. Check your podcast apps and you will see it. We want to extend a special thank you to Rick and Laura Hall, who joined us all the way from North Hollywood.
Yes.
They were fantastic as always. It was really good catching up with them.
Yes.
So please feel free to join us next week, and we will see you soon.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your Sunday.
Bye-bye.
Bye.